go live. Good evening, everybody, and I'm absolutely delighted to introduce my guest and be joined by our Master Distiller on the 11th day of Christmas series that we are doing for quite some time across the world, and this is the first time we have done in different continents, different cities, and yes, hello Dipesh, glad you could join. And yeah, so we've done Australia, we've done India, we've done UK, we've done Europe, we've done coast to coast in the US, and it's been a smashing series of chats and of obviously tasting the wonderful Christmas edition 2021. And yeah, I think it'll be fabulous conversation with Hemanth Rao today from Single Malt Amateurs Club, which he co-founded with Harsha and Bangalore, but now it's absolutely pan-India and some global fan following, which is gaining traction, and I'm hoping to see them soon. And I'll also be joined by our Master Distiller Michael D'Souza, and yes, hey Priyanka, and we have some familiar faces signing up, and Saransh 27, love Paul John Bold, thank you so much, same here, from one peated whiskey lover to another peated whiskey lover. Yeah, just love Paul John Bold, absolutely. And yeah, I think I'll be looking forward to getting some requests on questions. Add me in. I have no request yet. And Hemanth, and let's see where he is. There he is. Hemanth,
Hey, Himanshu.
how are you?
I'm good, thank
That's a
you.
stunning lineup. That's an enviable, stunning lineup.
I thought that we will make it a proper Christmas.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a proper Christmas as well. Yes, that's fabulous. And I think Michael will be joining shortly, but in the meanwhile, we've got a lot of visitors signing in, waving to Single Malt Amateurs Club and waving to you. Dine, drink, repeat. Hi, how are you? Good seeing you. And yes, I think, Hemant, there must be a lot of new visitors signing in and looking up at this conversation of ours. So give us a short introduction about Smack. I obviously know a lot about it, but when you started, what inspired you? I know you once told me you were wine was your poison for a long time.
It was indeed, Himanshu, and I guess this was a period before the whiskey bug actually bit me and bit me pretty hard. I guess that
Right.
was the time that wine was the go-to drink. But
Yeah.
yes, a short introduction. Thank you very much for having me on here. My name is Hemanth Rao, and I'm the founder of SMAC, which stands for Single Malt Amateurs Club. It was a whiskey appreciation community that I had set up back in 2011. It's been around 10 years running this community in India. I work with my partner Harsha, who probably is logged in and joined in looking at us. And we have been on a mission to probably help appreciation of single malt whiskey, making it more accessible to the people who may not have the opportunity to travel outside, looking at those gems that you create and, bringing that closer to the members who actually appreciate this whiskey.
Yeah.
So that's what we are out to do, Himanshu. And clearly, we have got a great association out here. We have been doing this for a while now. I think so, ever since Christmas edition as a variant came out,
Yes.
or even before that,
Before that.
we have been on multiple such phone calls. And what I can tell you, after 5 releases, this is the fifth release, right?
Yes.
In terms of the recent edition.
Yes.
Absolutely. I think so. If you ask me on a gradient scale, it's been very, very interesting to see how the flavors have changed, how it has evolved with time, how it is being appreciated by members across the community within India. And I'm
Right.
so proud that there are so many people who are actual proper enthusiasts of whiskey today who really know the value of the products that you create. So absolutely stunning journey.
Super. Let me not waste more time and, sign in our rock star master distiller, Michael.
Absolutely. The
Yes.
gentleman in demand.
Yes. Yes. So I'm tuning in, Michael. Let's give him a great evening welcome. Michael, where are you? There he is. Yes. And hi, Michael.
Hi, Himanshu. Hi, Hemanth. You're
Hi, Michael. How are
half
you?
hidden, actually.
Yeah,
I'm half
I think,
hidden.
yes, you need to come a little. Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
didn't want to cover your
No, no,
assets, Michael. That's
no,
the
no.
reason why I was half hidden.
No
I thought
worries.
that that was better.
Let me have the pleasure of seeing you.
Yeah, just a little bit
Thank you.
more. Yeah.
Little bit
You
more.
need to,
Okay.
yeah, you need to come towards the barrel. Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, even
Okay.
a little bit more. Even a little bit more. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, all right. Let's do a thing. Let's get the whiskey going. I think so that'll set the precedence more than
Yes.
anything else.
Yes. Let's do that. Let's do that. Yes. Now that's good. That's good. We
Yeah,
can work
yeah.
with
All
that.
right. Thank
So,
you.
before we start go on with our conversation, what I thought was, which I've been trying to do, across in my chats, is to have the uncorking together. That is
Okay.
you and me in Bangalore, Michael in Goa. This is much closer uh, thing to do, and we will do it at the count of three. So yeah, just
Okay.
get ready, and we will pour a dram and let it, breathe a little bit so that we can have a conversation. And then when we are tasting, the liquid is absolutely ready for Christmas. So go ahead.
Let's do that. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
First of all, Himanshu, as always, I must saying that, the packaging, I think so a lot of people who are on the video right now
yeah.
know Paul John as a reputed organization to bring out brilliant packaging.
Mm,
And Christmas edition has been again, I think so wonderfully done. The colors, the tartan design, the entire Christmas setting, absolutely stunning. Really appreciate
thank you.
this. I think so. India as a market always appreciates these kind of gestures. And I
Yeah.
think that if you look at the whiskey in entirety,
Mm,
I think that one, I really enjoy whiskeys where the concept is very closely married to the subject as such. The whiskey resonates very well in terms of what the label is, what the design is, what the theme is. That's one.
right. Yeah.
And this absolutely nails it because you can take it as a gift and give it to anyone. It
Yeah.
doesn't need packaging on top of that. You got everything done right about. So absolutely well done. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, my, we try to do the balance and walk a very thin line on that, because
Okay.
I will always want Michael's liquid to showcase first, and then
Mhm.
I just, we just put the robe on top of the liquid to shine. That's all what we do.
All I'm
So
saying is that's a great robe, Himanshu.
thank you.
That's probably
Thank you.
all what I'm saying. All right. So
Thank
on
you.
a count of three, I guess, let me first get
Yes.
the foil out.
Yes.
If you don't mind.
Yeah, no worries. We've got
There
time.
goes. It's a golden foil.
Yeah.
Looking absolutely great. There we go.
Hmm.
Okay, so three,
At the count of
two,
three.
Okay.
one. Wow,
Well,
super.
Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry
Michael,
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
I'm just going to pour a couple of drams for myself. Let it probably breathe a bit.
Yep.
Uh, all those who are watching on the video, I think so, is absolutely important that you participate as well in terms of at least having a dram with yourself.
Yes.
I
Yes.
will continue to talk about the bottle. I will continue to probably say that as probably a change from the previous editions, what I see is that this edition has got the darker green bottle, not the transparent one. So
Yes.
that's the change that we're seeing.
Yeah. So
The
it was.
tartan design is again probably a mixture of all that you've had till now. You've got white, you've got maroonish pink that was going on in 2019, and then you had gold, I think so, last year, which I thought that was an extra dram, and now you have this. So, well, there was a green as well. I think so. It was 2019,
19,
19,
19, yes.
right? Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah. So yeah, we kind of think this through for almost on a 5-year basis, what we want to do, uh,
okay.
and but it's finally gets nails down to what the liquid comes out in terms of
Nice,
what Michael has envisioned, and then we
right?
just see what actually comes closest to the
Okay,
liquid, and then the
okay,
work
okay.
starts on the liquid. And just to give you since you mentioned about this, that actually our work for 2023 has already started. So it takes that much time to do that.
So, Himanshu, I think so. This session we should utilize because while Michael will talk about the whiskey and the people who are listening in will probably gain some, insights into how the whiskey is actually structured and what it takes to actually bring this to life. I think so. These
Right.
are the important snippets that we should be talking about, saying that I understand that we take such a lot of effort, almost a year of working. It
Yeah.
takes so much of effort in, getting such a design out which is seamless, which does not really impact any aspect of your vision in terms of a Christmas edition. I think so. We'll talk about that. So I was wondering if we can structure this conversation in a manner saying that we talk about the robe, as you
Mhm.
say, the
Okay.
exterior, the packaging, and the time that it takes to actually get it then.
Yeah.
We will then probably, now that the whiskey will take some time in the glass and, air a bit, we will probably speak a lot about the whiskey. So there,
Yeah.
my questions will go largely to Michael, where we're going to understand or try to understand, saying that what was his vision behind, each variant that's coming out, what goes in, what's changed from the previous edition. I think so. These are the questions that the members listening in will really enjoy because for them,
Absolutely.
whiskey is probably the center stage. You and me talking are just going to be probably enhancing the experience, hopefully, in a manner that they can
Yeah.
appreciate, right? So,
Yeah.
is that all right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Lead the way, Hemant.
All right. So, Himanshu, a couple of things, and I think so some important points also because the people from India are listening in. We started the Christmas edition in 2018, if I'm right.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
So, can you quickly give us, what was the thought process behind it? Because it's a unique variant. While there
Yeah.
have been multiple series across the globe in terms of whiskey releases and everything, I don't know if there's actually a Christmas edition by the name Christmas edition. Is there one?
Uh, Michael, have you come across anything that is specifically labeled as Christmas edition in
Uh,
your travel,
uh,
in your
not
world?
not Christmas edition, but Christmas whiskeys, with a different with special packages for Christmas. Yes, I mean there
Okay,
are
yeah.
there are a
So
lot of
that I
brands.
guess Christmas special release or something like that I've seen as well,
Mm.
Yeah.
but I haven't seen a variant specifically that is traditional year-on-year release. I haven't seen something like that, I suppose.
Michael, in your knowledge, what the one now that Whiskey Exchange releases, is
Mhm.
that a Christmas release or is it
Yeah,
just the
this is
packaging of
known
one of
as
the.
Christmas whiskey. Yes, I mean it's a small batch.
Mm, mm,
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I think across the world on whatever uh, we would have tracked, and we have very really a very good digital team that tracks all of this. I think as a very specific release, which would say Christmas edition over here, I think
mm.
we would be the first one to do that. And I think what Michael just mentioned, that it is perhaps I've seen once at Whisky Exchange website. They started, I think, a few years later than
Right.
we started doing that. Yes.
Nice. Okay. So, what was the thought process, Himanshu? I mean, I know that it's a special occasion. You always want to bring a special whiskey onto the table, but there must have been a brainwave behind this, right? Saying that, all right, Christmas is a time that we need to bring some,
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
expression to the table.
So, Hemant, actually, the idea just started, uh, I think, in one of the trade shows around this
Hmm.
time, October, November, earlier, much before earlier, because, from idea to execution, it takes a long time, and particularly it takes a long time when you are doing it for the first time. So, there are
Right.
lot of variables that you are doing which are for the first time and you don't know what it is. So, I think somewhere, like Michael mentioned, that it's Christmas packaging
Mm.
only for the season, and then the liquid inside is the same. So we saw some brands like Big Pete, Douglas Lane, and Boutique Whiskey doing some specials around the season, and we said, okay, well, let's see what we can do. And actually, the first thought uh, did come to just do the packaging for as a Christmas packaging for Brilliance Edited and Bold. So,
Right. Okay.
and actually, the first three lineup of Christmas you see was meant, and my earliest prototypes was Brilliance Edited Bold. So
Okay. Okay.
we so that happened, and then we said no. I think that's what everybody is doing, and we looked at what we could create something new. And I think Michael uh, shared us that there are these fabulous liquids that are getting ready, and
Mm.
maybe we could showcase it to the world. It's more like when you are watching a movie and then at the end you actually see the credits in which they put in something that is coming up in the second, more like Marvel movies. So we said,
Yeah.
okay, we're going to do something new next year. So why don't we put vat that whiskey with our
Mm.
classical Paul John single malts that we have. And that's where
Right.
the idea germinated. And I think the first one, if you remember 2018, which is the
White
uh,
edition. Yeah.
white edition, was actually, which is now absolutely not to be seen. It's almost like a ghost level uh, uh, across the world. And that was with the Oloroso cask. And
Mm.
subsequently, what we launched was the Oloroso Select cask as a
Right.
showcase uh, to to what we did at the 2018 Christmas. And then
Right.
2019 came about with PX, and then the following year so there is a thread on giving a taste or a preview or a teaser, what prelude to what is going to come in our pipeline going forward
Nice.
in terms of as they get ready. So we Michael releases a small batch to see how they are evolving, how it marries with everything else, and then it becomes an expression of its own, like the Paul John Select Cask, Oloroso, and PX have been so far.
Understand.
Yeah.
So, Himanshu, probably I'll move on to Michael now that we have
Yeah.
probably given the whiskey some time, and our audience must be wondering, saying that, all right, this gentleman have a glass of whiskey. How can they sit and talk about the packaging for so long? So we will give it a go with your permission. And Michael, I'm hoping that you're going to be able to take us through this. We are tasting the Christmas edition, 2022 edition, absolute stunner of a dram. So, in your style, Himanshu, Jai Ho then.
Jai Ho!
Michael, cheers.
Michael, cheers. Jai Ho to you. Yeah.
So, Michael, probably now we'll talk a little bit more about the whiskey. Can you tell us, and going by what Himanshu said, that this packaging now says that it's an ex-bourbon, unpeated, brandy and oloroso peated casks. So, while the whiskey itself is unpeated from an ex-bourbon barrel, you added or blended whiskeys from brandy and oloroso peated casks. Is that the parlance of what's been published?
Hemant, if you don't mind, can you repeat the question, please?
So I was just taking a cue from what Himanshu asked Michael. So he was saying that every time the Christmas edition comes out, it's almost as a prelude to your next, release in terms of special editions or so on and so forth. So I was just reading out the, casks that were used in this Christmas edition. It tells me saying that it's an ex-bourbon unpeated whiskey that has gone into the mix, along with brandy and oloroso, which are from the peated casks. Is that correct?
Correct. Yeah. See, as you know, the tradition started in 2018. So very first expression had three different cask finishes.
Okay.
So since it is a year every year editions, I had to keep up the tradition. So Christmas edition will have at least three different cask finish whiskies. Okay, so and also as every distillery has its own hallmark. Paul John also has it has got its own hallmark. Certain flavors are synonymous across all the expressions. So to maintain this, I use ex-bourbon casks. That is where your real character shows, the Paul John character. Today, regardless of what expression people taste, for example, I'll give you, regardless of the age, whatever the Glenfiddich you open, you have the hallmark. You have certain flavors that is synonymous across all their whiskies. So, so I want people to really understand what this Paul John is all about and how it tastes. So ex-bourbon shows the true character of Paul John. And the third reason is, to make it more Christmassy. On the nose, if you see, you have a lot of plum cake, dry fruits like dry figs, dry apricot, dry raisin, dry dates. It is spicier. It has got black pepper.
So,
citrusy,
Michael,
honey.
sorry, I think I've lost you a bit out there. There's a little bit of a lag, I suppose, but I heard almost the ingredients of a Christmas cake in short, saying that it's got raisins, it's got sultanas, it's got some black pepper, it's got some cinnamon. And this is what, Michael, I was actually talking to Himanshu about before you joined, saying that I really enjoy the concept because it's not only we're talking about whiskeys that are named in a certain way, they actually resonate the flavor itself very much in entirety. So that really, I think, so connects with me in terms of how it's made.
Yeah, so as I said, the ex-bourbon gives the elegancy, the peat gives the depth to the whiskey, and cask finishes, whether it is Spanish oak, Portuguese wine, Spanish wines, Portuguese wine, or for a brandy cask, it gives that Christmassy feeling. All the three finishes, it's previously been used for wine aging, so it imparts that winey character.
So, Michael, I have a specific question on this. Now, when I actually am nosing it, while I get a significant number of flavors that you're talking about, I have tasted this whiskey previously, so I have a certain, probably mental picture of what happens in this whiskey and so on and so forth. But one note that is actually coming out quite evidently, and people who have tasted the XO brandy from Paul John would probably be able to place it. There is, that touch of that brandy cask, which is coming out very, very clearly in one of the early notes that I'm getting from the nose.
Yeah, sure. When it comes to PJXO, you have the mix of Uniblanc and our indigenous varietal called Bangalore Purple, which is actually very aromatic.
So that's the one contributing to the flavor you are stating, saying that that's probably the one actually standing up in this, because in this glass I'm getting.
See, I mean, you have whiskey from unpeated from ex-bourbon, unpeated whiskey initially matured in ex-bourbon, later finished in brandy cask, and peated whiskey matured in ex-bourbon and finished in Oloroso cask. So it's a lot more going on here. So
just for the benefit of the audience, I'm just going to replay what you just said, Michael, just so that they understand the concept very clearly, because this is probably an idea about how things get done in terms of the special varieties. What you're saying is the ex-bourbon unpeated version of the whiskey was matured first in ex-bourbon, of course, and then put into a brandy cask, married later with peated whiskey, which was ex-bourbon again.
No.
But then matured in a Oloroso cask. That's the process of putting it together.
So now, okay, the unpeated, we have initially, we mature our liquid in an ex-bourbon cask.
Okay.
Okay. So whether it is, whether it is peated or non-peated, everything goes inside ex-bourbon cask. Nothing goes inside the wine cask.
Right.
Okay. After a couple of years, say this whiskey is 7 years old. Okay.
Right.
So 5 years, the liquid has spent in ex-bourbon cask. Okay. After that, the unpeated had gone inside the brandy cask for 2 years.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So the peated whiskey again was matured for 5 years in ex-bourbon cask and later transferred into Oloroso hogshead.
Nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and also there is an unpeated, completely matured in ex-bourbon.
Completely matured in ex-bourbon. So that gives the body, I suppose, for
that gives the elegance, that gives the true character of Paul John.
Yeah.
Brandy is giving you the fruitier character. It's very aromatic. It is very floral. It's very fruity. The peated.
Absolutely. I think so. You get a multitude of notes from this we are having in terms of the flavors, etc. I think so. That's what's coming in. I'm not going to hang on for much longer, Michael. I really need to get into the glass and savor this whiskey. So, with your permission, Himanshu and Michael, again, Jai Ho.
Jai Ho. Yeah.
If you gentlemen did observe when I was, airing the whiskeys, I did try two variants, one with some water and one without some water. So I'm going with the one with the addition of a little bit of water right now.
Yeah.
And again, I'm probably going to say this multiple times during this call, saying that look at the actual aromas and flavors on the nose and the mouth presence. I think so. The palate presence on this whiskey is absolutely phenomenal. It's got some great viscosity going. It's got the sweetness of those almost like a resin extract and those dry fruits which have been soaked in alcohol. That's what's happening. There is cinnamon, and there's got the black pepper spices that are happening in the background. So that was the reason, Himanshu, when I shared my notes with yourself, saying that what I felt about this, I thought that this was absolutely nailing it in terms of the Christmas. Now, whether you like a Christmas cake or not, that's probably a subjective thing. And people who don't like it, well, I think so. This is probably not going to be great, but I haven't met anyone who doesn't like a Christmas cake.
Doesn't like
That aside, yes. So I'm just thinking, saying that the mouth presence, the nose has got probably a character that I was saying the one note that I could clearly pick up, and probably this because of exposure to the XO that I have nosed it pretty often, that was a significant note. But the mouth presence is absolutely phenomenal in this. I think that it's got the right amount of balance in terms of it's not being overly sherried, not only, the Oloroso character coming through. There's a great balance, but more importantly, I think so on the palate, it's got great presence in terms of holding the palate strength together, the viscosity, the flavors, and the aftertaste in terms of the spice and the lingering taste that remain on your tongue. Absolutely well done. I think so. Phenomenal.
Super. There you go, Michael. So you understand how it is when Michael puts this kind of a liquid, and then we have to put the presentation in, and that's why it takes the time and effort and the sincerity that goes into making it all as one presentation of everything combined.
Right, right. Okay. So I have a question again, Michael. I mean, of course, this is something that you would have thought about. You would have engineered, saying that what goes into either, the mixture, what's the, quantum, what's the ratio that gets into that to get the final product tasting like this. And I'm just thinking at the back of my mouth, there is a little bit of dry wood that's actually there that gives it that nice dryness, a little bit of that character coming in. But Michael, I have to ask, saying that compared to the previous edition, which was 2021, what really changed in 2022? So what was the main character that you thought about, saying that what should take center stage? What was the thought process behind that?
Yeah, center stage is always that Christmassy feeling.
Okay.
The profile of Christmas, a lot of Christmas cake, orange marmalade, Manuka honey, dark chocolate, apple pie, name anything. I mean, all the Christmas delicacies. Comparing with the previous edition, yeah, I mean there is a lot of difference, because the previous expression had the whiskey from Portuguese wine cask. Portuguese wine cask is more nuttier, a lot of citrus notes, a lot of floral notes, and it's more tannic. But but when it comes to 2022, it's more salivating, more sweeter.
So if I may add, Hemanth here,
Of course.
before we started this series of the 12 days of Christmas, I had the opportunity to do a vertical tasting in Poland.
Nice.
2020, which podcast, 2021 was a podcast from Muguracast, and then we did the 2022. And the entire thing that came up in terms of the hallmark of 2021 was it was a lot of log cabin feeling, a lot of marshmallow fire, and it evoked the palette of far more heartier and robust flavors, which we were able to reflect in our presentation. Whilst this one is a very comfortable feeling. It's a tartan Christmas blanket. So yeah, so I think we have been exploring nuances of Christmas and trying to see how close we are able to portray it in our flavors and colors put together.
Nice. Okay. Okay. That must be an absolute difficult thing to do. While we can speak about it, Himanshu saying that, this was the intent, we wanted to get these flavors in. But I'm
Right.
just looking at probably the job that Michael has, and everyone probably today, every whiskey enthusiast think that, being a master distiller, being a blender is pretty easy. And here I am thinking, saying that that's one job that I really don't want to go anywhere close to, even probably after, you know, decades and decades of indulgence in whiskey. That's probably not where I want to go to, because just imagine this, folks, everyone who's listening into this. Can you think about, Himanshu or myself or anyone for that matter, thinking about, all right, these are the notes in the Christmas, delicacies that people across the world enjoy. And you need to get that in your whiskey tomorrow. And that's probably the process that's absolutely difficult to do, because while there are some notes that you can actually pick on and you can say that, all right, this cask gets this character, to get something absolutely aligned to those notes which have been coming out as a concept, I think so that's absolutely brilliant. So Michael, I really think that entire process that you spend time on in terms of blending and getting the cask together, seeing what notes, that must be a long process. How long does this take to put together?
Oh, it's not less than 6 months. Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
so because I have to check the inventory what I have, because every year the batch is getting bigger and bigger. So I have to choose the right cask, right? Because as you rightly said, people think more the merrier. It is not. The more the bigger the list of ingredients, tougher it is to blend.
It is to blend,
Because
yeah.
yeah. So because the end of the day, what you need is right balance of all the flavors. So yeah, it is challenging. At the same time, it is very, very exciting.
I'm glad that you continue to enjoy that, Michael, because I'm sure that it is significant amount of pressure as well. And this is again another aspect that I wanted to talk about while we have some bit of audience who's listening in, saying that there is so much of appreciation. So whiskey, I understand, is personal preference. Some people like the whiskey, some people don't like the whiskey. But there is all that significant amount of pressure that one builds within oneself to actually bring such a product to the market, right? Whether it's Himanshu, you from the packaging standpoint and the marketing standpoint and the distribution, so on and so forth. And Michael, you from the structure of the liquid, saying that how really it marries or basically brings all these ideas to the fore. When you actually taste this whiskey, do you really feel that Christmassy, feeling coming through from a glass? I think so that's a significant amount of pressure, within oneself.
Yeah, I mean, definitely, yes. I mean, it's not only I think every profession has its own challenges.
I can assure you it does.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's all about, the passion that you put in. So that's it. I mean, and as long as you're enjoying your work, I think it, keeps you going.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
And
Great thought.
yeah, and Michael will just shrug it off with his boyish smile. But let me tell you, the pressure is there in a way that it just gets when one of the editions, though we consciously don't send this one for awards, but if we have a window, we do try to sneak it in
Okay.
without releasing it to the trade because it has to come out at a particular time across the world. So it just happens to be the best Asian whiskey of the year as well.
Oh,
So
congratulations then. Best Asian Whiskey of the Year.
yeah.
Fabulous.
So for Michael, 2023 is no pressure at all. So that's positive.
That seems to be the precedence. But I must tell you, I mean, gentlemen and ladies who are actually listening in, great Christmas drink. I think so. Great gift also for people to indulge in the Christmas festivities. Please do
Yeah.
consume responsibly. That's a motto of our club, and I'm sure that Paul John resonates with it equally. But really nailing it in terms of flavors. In fact, the warmth as well in terms of the peat coming in as the backbone of the whiskey. Absolutely nailing it in terms of how the finish, especially the mouth feel, deep throat, after throat kind of a flavor coming through. Very, very nice. I think so. For people in colder countries are going to enjoy that even a little bit more.
Yeah.
But Bangalore weather is no less, I can assure you. And as you can see, I think so. This is going to be a runaway success in my mind in terms of people who are actually opening the bottle and consuming it. I think so. They're going to go back for seconds if available, of course. On that note, Himanshu, I just wanted to figure out how many bottles are we talking about in this Christmas edition world over?
See, I mean, and I must add this to you and to all the members who are here. See, our philosophy has been that it is one festival, one world, one liquid at 46%, and we are going to do one bottling. So it's a truly limited edition. So, but we do it in multiple SKUs. We do it in 750 ml for India and the Americas. We do it in 70 70 cl
700
or
ml.
700 ml for UK and the Europe and
Okay.
some the rest of the world. We also do 50 ml
Okay.
and 5 cl. So if I were to put everything in an equivalent of 750 ml, it would be about 7,926 bottles of 750 ml for the world.
That figure didn't sound like around. You had that precise number going through your head. Very well done, Himanshu. So, yes, I think so. 7,000 bottles around the world is relatively low number compared to what some of the limited editions that are floating around in today's parlance.
Yeah.
And I think so that largely it depends upon, Michael, what's your availability, right? So you've got 10 blends going, I guess, over the last 6 months when you're preparing the final one. Then you pick the best one or the one that you think that resonates with the theme for the year, the maximum. And then you go back to see how much of inventory that you have for that kind of a ratio, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
when you create
one more
something, you
thing.
have to keep different consumers in mind, because it's not that everybody likes whiskey to have their whiskey neat.
Right.
You know, you have to think about people who use this particular whiskey in a cocktail or with any other mixer. So you cannot make whiskey for one segment. You know, I mean, you have to keep different various consumers in mind when you make something.
Yeah.
Very important point, Michael, and I guess very pertinent to the Indian market specifically, or Asian markets as such, where there is more of indulgence in probably rated water and other mixes to your single malts as well.
Yeah,
that happens.
absolutely.
So how do you do that, Michael? I mean, just out of curiosity, I'm sure that some people on the session also would like to know, saying that is that you, when you finally create your blended spirit, do you add so much of water and editors to check as to what's the harmony between the liquid, etc.? Is that the process that you follow?
Yeah. I mean, see, for example, recently we launched our gin. You know, we did try with tonic water. We tried with botanical waters. We tried having neat with soda and everything. So, so that is how.
Is that what you do with whiskeys as well?
Yeah, definitely, yes.
Okay.
We are in the business of happiness. So whilst we are tasting the whiskey here, but we encourage people to enjoy their whiskeys the way they like it.
Fabulous. And I'm sure that Michael, at the end of the session every day, is very, very happy after he goes through all the tasting that happens in that case. Himanshu, I'm sure that part of the job is pretty happy enough. But I see some nice comments coming through, Himanshu. I don't know if you have access
Yep.
to read them, but I was just looking at them, saying that there are a lot of congratulatory notes coming on to Michael, saying that, what a lovely liquid that's been put together.
Yep.
There are also some notes that I was just glancing through, and it says that, wonderful Christmas dessert. And those are probably the ones that stick, right? Saying that, a drink created for such an occasion, fabulous in terms of outcome, very, very well aligned with, what the theme is, so on and so forth. So must be very satisfying in that manner. But Himanshu, a tough question, if I may.
Yes. Yes,
The
please.
price. In
Yes.
India, India is always, going to be talking about price, and my members probably will have asked me the question multiple times. And this question seems to be the most common question if you ask me in terms of what I am asked as a person whenever we assess a whiskey. I try to, disassociate the price because affordability is something very, very relative, just exactly like a palate. But then the price has increased, right? Yeah,
Yes.
and do you see this happening consistently because of what's happening in the whiskey industry, or is this a one-off because of the kind of casks used? Is there any thought that you want to share behind that?
So, first of all, let me just mention this to you. I started saying one festival, one world, one liquid at 46% ABV, one bottling. And I want to
Hmm.
add here that we make our most endeavor, we try, we have not yet
Hmm.
succeeded, is to ensure that it is in a very similar price band across the world.
Hmm.
Across the world. I'm not even talking the three Indian states we are. So to give you, Maharashtra is at 6.5 or 7. Goa is at 6.5, and Karnataka is at 7, which are different pricing structures of how you calculate your last price. But
Hmm.
I was talking to my first guest in Belgium, and he said, it's a fabulous price that you have done. The reason why I'll tell you that why this I remember the first one that we had launched at that point of time was uh, uh, 2018 was at about 5,000 odd rupees,
Right.
which was just above the select cast this thing. Now, what has happened is that across, I mean, since now, obviously there has been inflationary pressures, and something that doesn't get posted in the press has been the cost of packaging that has increased. Whilst our whiskey remains solely Indian with Indian six-row barley, which which we have in terms of this thing, the cost of and we are extremely lucky to have Sazerac as our partner because that gives us our consistent supply of Buffalo Trace casks and so on and so forth. But the biggest challenge is three important uh, packaging items that are imported. One is the cork, which is made in Portugal, right?
Okay.
Uh, we don't compromise on the sound of when it's open because it is a sound of a person opening his heart for the people he loves when he's opening that bottle of Christmas edition or a Paul John whiskey. So if you notice that it's an all natural cork, it comes from Portugal. So there is
Right.
there is a
Okay.
there has been a cost escalation on that. Second, bottle comes from overseas. We have to import the bottles at
Right.
this point of time, including this edition. Uh, we had to also, the capsule that we tear off comes from Italy.
Hmm.
So these three are the biggest elements. The label and the canister is done in India. So
Right.
these three are the biggest elements that happen over here. So so that's something that is very, very important that we have had tremendous cost increase. And I again met those partners last week and they said, more is coming because They are having a crazy winter.
Mm.
And we are in the anvil of, I don't know, I've even stopped counting the number of waves that is now being said, fourths, fifths, whatever. We are going
Mm.
back on the mask business and so on and so forth. So we don't know. It's the uncertainty part of it. So that's why keeping what we need to make our livelihood plus what we want to invest for our future in terms of increasing our stock and increasing the number of bottles. Uh, for Michael needs to have a balance of what he is preparing for the Christmas edition is also available as a liquid in future
Right.
release.
Right.
So so those casks, the wine finish casks have gone through the roof because a lot more distilleries want that.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
simple question. It's the law of economics that has gone ahead, whilst our bourbon casks are fairly available and available at a very stable price. But the wine cask finishes or the special cask finishes are absolutely going through the sky high. And that's the part of the job that, Michael has to work with to create these expressions, award-winning expressions, keeping the legacy of Christmas and saying, 2023 October, we have people asking what next.
Understand. Right. So, Himanshu, I'm just wondering because there are quite some people online right now, and I think so. It's a great opportunity for them to actually understand from Michael as well as from yourself, saying that what is it that 2023 has on the anvil? One, I think so. That's the question that significant number of people will have on their mind, saying that what's going to happen in 2023. Yes, you mentioned COVID being a dampener again, and it's absolutely disheartening, I guess, to see some of the reports coming in from friends in China and so on and so forth. But I'm hoping that it doesn't go that way. We don't get, into that kind of situation. But yes, absolutely, we need to be prepared for. But just to keep our spirits high, it's the festive season, and to ensure that.
Yes.
So share some good news with us in terms of what's coming in 2023. I think so. That's something that everyone will want to hear.
So, Michael, do you want to take the lead or do you want me
No, no,
to?
go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So, so obviously, we are looking at, we have Oloroso unpeated, we have PX unpeated, right? So, we are looking at expanding our wine cask finishes
Mm-hmm.
only unpeated
Mm-hmm.
to start with, and the past Christmas editions are a reflection of that. So, we have the port casks lined up. Um for 2023, which is a very obvious thing. We did release a special release of podcast in Australia, which Michael uh, had gone for. But so yeah, we look at the coming 2023 with a release of podcast. Now, in podcast, we have um, three uh, three types of liquids, which is a late bottle vintage port cask that we have, which we are finishing our whiskies. We also have a tawny port cask. So
Sorry.
maybe, yeah, maybe Michael will work that magic again and see how we put that thing together, depending also on what kind of liquid quantities we have, because we never, I mean, and by now you know that anything that we do, we try to create the same ABV across the world, unless, like it's a Mithuna, which had a 58 variation and a 50 for India. Uh, yes.
Yeah, a whiskey that I truly enjoy, as you can see, a staple on my bar.
Yeah, so we try to keep the same ABV because the philosophy being that we want to express exactly what the cask has intended to give.
Right.
Uh, Michael brings all that expertise together in terms of when batting it together to batch after batch to make it consistently available throughout. And
Mm.
and when you talked about that tasting bit, that
Mm.
tasting which Michael has to do, which is a very coveted where most people would give their right arm and perhaps spawn 7 generations to it, happens at 9:30 a.m. in the morning. So, because the palate is fresh and so on and so forth, and not the enjoyment part of it in the evening and say, yeah, this is a very nice one and let's go ahead with it, because there is a lot riding on what we do, and the responsibility we have to patrons like you, patrons across the world, and what they believe what Paul John stands for by now, after being 10 years of being Paul John Single Malts since 2012. So all of that takes the weight on the shoulders to deliver the promise. So I think so, and we also have the Madeira cask as well. So there will be I think in the unpeated going forward in 2023 something from the port cask finish.
Nice. So there you are, folks. I think so. One of the most important questions answered, saying that what's likely to come in 2023. You clearly got some of the wine finished casks that are coming in. Not a very subtle one, a very obvious hint coming in from Himanshu, saying that you're going to see something on port. And I think so, as enjoyment dram with the Indian palate, Indian cuisines keeping in mind, I think so port cask is something that people will really enjoy out here. That's my firm belief. I think so those are some of the notes that people absolutely relate to in India. I think so that will work very well. So Michael, I'm going to come back to you on a question, saying that you said that the last year to this year, you have moved in terms of the kind of casks that you've used. You've used the brandy cask clearly. And do you see that this subtle variations in your Christmas editions are going to happen consistently across? Because I'm just thinking, saying that you must have a limited number of combinations that it's like a combination locks. You just have probably, depending upon the number of digits that you turn around, you're going to have only those many combinations going.
I know. I mean, luckily we have, couple of exciting experiments going on. So
okay,
I should be able to pull something out. Yeah, I'm still working. I mean, I don't know. I may be
6 months.
Successful. I don't know.
We'll talk to Michael in 6 months, saying that Michael, how's the journey been for the 2023 edition of Christmas? But yeah, while Himanshu, you say that it's people given arm and a leg for the position, exactly like how you put it, 7:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning, sitting with 20 different trams, trying to get your palate. And then the meetings must be really interesting after that, after tasting 20-25 whiskeys. How does that happen, Michael? Is it like you tell people, saying that, look, I am bombed for the meeting right now and I'm going to take some time off before I respond to the question? Is that how that goes?
Yeah, it happens. But,
okay.
Yeah.
So there you go, gentlemen and ladies. I think so. Whoever is listening, if you think that this is something, your cup of tea, please keep in mind that 9:30 in the morning, if you may be sick as a dog, you may not want to look at another glass of whiskey. You may absolutely not want to put your nose into a glass, but you need to do maybe 20, 25, 30 variants of whiskey at that time, because it's your job. Now, doing that for one day, okay, you put pressure on yourself and saying, all right, I do it for a week. But for Michael or anyone to do it for 6 months, just to get the liquid right. So get your perspectives as to how that experience must be. While it may sound extremely enjoyable in terms of what it sounds like, saying that, yes, you got great whiskies. What are you complaining about? It's free. You're getting paid to do it. All these terms go straight out the window. I can tell you that, because in the capacity of running some tasting sessions, sometimes when I'm not feeling up to it, when you need to go up and talk about the whiskey, when you want to not look at another bottle, you still got to do it, because that's the job and things like that. I think so it's really important for all of you to absolutely relate to this fact, what Michael does consistently for 6 months. It is a job. It is something that really needs effort. It needs something that needs consistency. And in my little experience, probably even after Michael identifies 5 finalists, for example, it's going to take a while before he tastes it on multiple occasions, gives it to multiple people for feedback, saying that how does this feel on your palate, and so on and so forth, before, it's actually bottled in this manner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's something like Michael is on his 27th year at the turn of the 2022. So it's just not the Christmas edition, it's also getting every other expressions that we talk about, whether it's the select cask, wine cask finish, whether it's the Christmas edition, whether it's the Zodiac series, and whether it's the commemorative editions, and so on and so forth. So it's all in part of work in one day, a slice of life for what Michael does. And let me tell you one very important point is when you read the tasting notes, they are tasting notes. They do not taste that when we print this.
Oh, I can imagine, yeah.
Because after Michael has vatted these three liquids that you see mentioned on the label and on the packaging, they go through a resting period of 2 months where the flavors marry.
This is in the vatting tub, I assume.
Yes, yeah, because it's a vat. All three liquids are sourced in a certain proportion and are vatted, and for the flavors to marry for 2 months.
Okay.
And what we write, because we can't wait for that, because shipments have to go out. So what
the
we
packaging
write is
has to happen, the printing needs to happen, and all of that, right?
All of that. So that is a leap of faith that we write on what the liquid will taste when we bottle it and ship it.
So that must be a difficult thing to do as well. And, I've always been advocating people, especially in Indian whiskies, which are from 6-row barleys, saying that give it time in your glass. Aeration actually, significantly improves, changes, in my humble opinion, the whiskey, and you will find, significant amount of difference if you leave it in your glass for some time. I think that this whiskey works very, very, very well with a drop of water. I'm going to indulge in that one more time because, I think so those 2 drops of water really ensures that there is a rounded flavor on the whiskey that's coming through. So I'm going to do that again. But sticking to your point, Heemanshu, about the notes that are actually printed against what's actually coming through. So, Michael, that must be an experience, right? I mean, when you write down the notes, what are the significant notes that are coming out of the whiskey, give it to Heemanshu and so forth, saying that print this on this. And finally, when the liquid is bottled and it comes to people like me who want to adorn the bars and who want to give this as gifts, you smell the glass, and you say, hey, this is a wine cask that's coming out of this straight out of the nose, and because that's the significant note that I carry. Must be a difficult thing to do as well, right? Because then you might be getting calls saying that you've given notes about dark chocolate and so on and so forth. I don't get those notes over here. I get the melon out of here. I get wood out of here. That must be something as well, right?
Yeah, because everybody's palate is different. But having said that, yeah, I mean, I've been doing this since ages now. Out of experience, you understand what would happen to the whiskey. I mean, so it's like, today if you ask any of the Scottish distiller what would happen to the new make after 25 years, he would be able to tell you because they have the history, they have the tradition. So similarly, I've been doing this from ages now, so I understand which cask finish gives you what kind of a profile. So yeah.
If not for your salt and peppers, that is giving away probably a little bit of your age, Michael. I think so. When Heemanshu said that you spent 27 years in the distillery, I think so a lot of the audience would have a question: what did you join when you were 5 or something like that? Because I don't think so. There's a possible explanation beyond that, saying that as to how you spent 27 years. And Michael, I mean, this is a personal question. I don't think so. There is Surendraji, of course, who was a master distiller for Amrit, who spent significant time with Amrit. But 27 years in one distillery, I'm sure that's a record in the Indian subcontinent of sorts.
Yeah, it is actually 30 years, not 29, 27.
Oops. Okay.
Himanshu, there you go. 30 years, you got the number there.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
the 30th year. I mean, I'll be finishing 30 years next year. So
No, but distilling was 26 years, if I remember, 27 years.
yeah, the distilling is almost 22 years.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I'm delighted to also say hello to Anup Barik, who's joined us for the chat, fellow whiskey brethren,
Okay.
and a master distiller of great repute. So hello, Anup. But yes, so basically, I mean, Hemanth, it's actually 26 years of experience being put in test for 6 months to come up with the Christmas edition.
Well, I think so. A lot of people listening in and who are not listening in, everyone who enjoys Paul John as a whiskey, would appreciate the kind of effort and the kind of dedication that it takes to, create something like this. And clearly, Michael, you've got fans all across the globe. And I can tell you from running a club, a small club in India, looking at different ways that people probably perceiving whiskey. As you can imagine, today the whiskey market in India is significantly heating up. A lot of distillers coming up with new versions, new whiskeys, etc. I think so. The consistency at which Paul John has been catering to the market and has been able to bring out new expressions, and that's been probably something that everyone has respected, has always respected in terms of the approach. And there will always be that fanatism towards, the extremities and the way that whiskey is created, so on and so forth. But I think so, in general, everyone appreciates the kind of work that's been put behind what we are doing in terms of. But Himanshu, is there any other aspect of the whiskey that you'd want us to cover? Because I think that we have gone through the notes. All I can tell people who are listening in, if anyone wants a tip or so from my inexperienced palate compared to, of course, the gentleman who's, on to my right on the screen, is clearly a couple of drops of water really, really works well with this dram. I just think that it rounds off quite a bit of the experience on the mouth. It increases the viscosity, and it gives you that wonderful flavors coming through. And the dry cinnamon spice at the end of the dram absolutely nailed it in terms of the Christmas cake edition. So if you had a plum cake from one of the reputed bakeries, All Saints comes to mind for me in Bangalore, one of the guys who actually is known for their plum cakes, wonderfully done. That dryness, that raisin flavor, the moistness when it's there on the palate, but when you finish consuming it, there's an aftertaste that remains in your mouth. So that's exactly the aftertaste that I'm getting. I get a lot of that cinnamon dry wood flavor, which is again really, really well done. So my 2 pence on the whiskey is, do indulge with a couple of drops of water. I think so. Next to a bonfire, this bottle will disappear absolutely without trace.
So buy three. One to drink, one to share, and one to keep.
That's an extremely good strategy there, Himanshu. One to drink. I don't know how many would be remaining. The one to keep always is the one that gets lost somewhere in transit for me. But then I think so. That's a good point. But what are you gentlemen doing? I mean, Christmas time, it must be busy. Forget about the whiskey. We talked about the whiskey. We talked about packaging, all of that. A little bit about your personal selves, saying that what do you have in mind for the Christmas? Does it mean that you wind down 2 days before Christmas and put your legs up, Michael, saying that I'm not doing anything related to whiskey and I'm going to have a couple of beers? If I remember right, Hogarden was your favorite beer. Are you going to have a couple of pints of those and say that I'm not touching whiskey? Is that what you do at this time?
Not really. I mean, we are under expansion now. So we are pretty much busy at the distillery. We're adding up 4 more pot stills. So we are already behind the schedule. So I'm busy with the installation. So,
Yeah.
You need to get Mr. Paul onto the call, Himanshu. We need to, give him Employee of the Month kind of a word there. You see the hearts flying from people saying that Christmas time. You are talking about expansion. You're talking about, dedicating yourself further to the pot stills and so on and so forth. I really think that you need to get your chairman, Mr. Paul, onto the call, and he needs to listen into this, saying that, that's the kind of, job schedule Michael has.
Not really. I mean, yeah. I mean, Christmas Day, of course. I mean, we are taking off.
Well, that's a relief. Christmas Day, I'm off, and the remaining is not off. What about you, Himanshu?
Which happens to be a Sunday, but yeah.
Oh, what a coincidence!
What a coincidence! No, so first of all, there is, no Employee of the Month for Michael. Getting an award from Michael is an award itself. So that's one part. Personally, for me, as we speak, I think I don't know if I mentioned to you, but I think you know that I look after the new product development across all categories, not only PJ Paul Johnson and malts, but across. So right as we speak, we are getting into the wine harvest, and as we speak, we are coming up with our limited range of white wines, which is part of our flagship. So I think that's what keeps us busy. Yes, the weekend is catching up with friends, Christmas dinners, Christmas lunches, and so on and so forth. But yeah, lovely.
And lots of uncorking, I suppose, Himanshu, for you. Pop, it goes, saying that what's happening and what's not. I think so that's what's going to happen in the next few days, right? But I'll thank you, gentlemen, for having me on this session. Really, really enjoyed it. And Michael, your pot stills are going to probably be there. It's going to be for generations around. So take some time off for Christmas. I know it's a Sunday, probably. That's my only tip that I can say, that, take some time off so that you can create those wonderful creations that you have been bringing to the market to us. Really, really enjoyed the session. We really went through some very interesting questions, tasted some wonderful whiskey. I'm going to head off to a farmhouse of ours, saying that, to finish the rest of the bottle. And I'm going to, pay heed to what Himanshu said, saying buy a couple of more just to ensure that, there's this posterity maintained in terms of the bar stocking that happens as usual. Happy to take any questions if there are any on the audience. If there are none, I hope you gentlemen have a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And to everyone listening, and thank you for your time. Really, really enjoyed the session. Do stay connected with us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hemanth. Thank you, Bean. I would say you are the host for the evening today, and you really made absolutely a smooth sail for me. I really had finished the dram for the first time. So superb. Thank you so much.
Partners,
Master
Himanshu, always.
Partners.
Thank you.
Master, thank you, Michael. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
This is your second session
Merry
of the
Christmas.
day. So thank you so much. Merry Christmas to everybody. Thank you, Hemanth, to all the family members in your place and at Harsha's place, and the members of the SMAC.
Pleasure is ours. Thank you very much.
Cheers, man.
And Jai Ho once again. Thank you so much.
Jai Ho.